I just heard a very interesting word about the data, which has been said that data is the new oil. Is the data a new oil or the new infrastructure? Is it something that kind of a public infrastructure that can generate new business, new services, and new models, or it's only an oil that we can monetize? So what's the best expression about the new data? Is it an oil or an infrastructure?
Well, I think that Saudi Arabia knows a thing or two about oil, right? Look, I think there's an element of data that is very similar to oil and that we need to think about very carefully, which is that data is an asset. It's an asset because it has value intrinsically, because it has flows and it has stocks, and it needs to be properly managed by the public sector because of that characteristic of being an asset, and an asset that is hugely undervalued and undermanaged currently in the public sector. That's one aspect in which it's like oil. But it also is similar to infrastructure in one dimension, which is that data is a public good, or some public data have the characteristic of a public good. So that, for instance, governments around the world have weather data. They have data about traffic patterns. They have data about all sorts of things that are hugely valuable if properly put at the disposal of the private sector, so that value can be created on the basis of that data. You can have weather apps, you can have traffic apps, you can have all sorts of apps that are providing services, private sector services, to citizens, provided what? You recognize the data you have, you manage it carefully, you put it out there on an open source, open data platform with appropriate stewardship and appropriate protection for personalized and individual data. If you do that, then you can create the ecosystem and the companies and the local job content that you really want to get as part of a side effect, a really huge benefit of digital transformation in the public sector.
Great.